Achtung, Millwall.
Good morning, dear listeners. Welcome to part 2 of Achtung Millwall, number 586. I've just completed editing the first part of this finale edition for the 22-23 season. That was 55 minutes long, so I thought I've got an extensive amount of voicemail from all of the guys that send in their thoughts in the aftermath of every game, but in particular, of course, that hugely disappointing loss yesterday at home to Blackburn. So I thought I'd do this as a separate part 2 edition, so we've got quite a bit of stuff to include here, so that would have made the original edition over an hour and a half long, which I think is too much to handle in one go. Too much misery to handle in one go, dear listeners. But I just want to say thank you to everyone that's contributed for the voicemails here. So I'm going to take you immediately now to the voicemails in the aftermath of yesterday's home loss, Millwall 3, Blackburn Rovers 4, and the end of the Premier League dream. So over we go.
Hello?
Morning, Nick. Jim Hackett here. Thought I'd give it a little bit before I put any comments in after the Millwall goal of yesterday. I suppose if you followed them for so long, you could read that all over the place. Blackburn hadn't won for 8 or 9 games. Their talisman man hadn't scored a goal for God knows how long. Their top scorer was injured. And as always, we flattered and then we sort of caved in. But it's probably not a day to do too much moaning apart from feel sorry for ourselves, I think. First half, even at 3-1, I think you could just see that we were just a little bit twitchy. But having got to 3-1 and got to half time, I think everybody thought then, you know, the not that we were safe, but we had enough in us to keep them out. I think the goals that we scored, they were good goals. I mean, they were caused the second two were mainly from mistakes from Blackburn, but you know how nice that we capitalised on them, and it was slightly ironic that it was Watmore and Burke, you know, our 2 January signings that got the goals. And to be fair, them two played very well first half, and you know you couldn't see Blackburn doing what they did to us in the second. I think what it did reflect, or looking back on the second half yesterday, Blackburn played, or they came out as if they had the shackles taken off them. I think when we play against teams that have that freedom and have nothing to lose, I think that's where probably we're at our worst, because we don't seem to have players that can deal with opposition players that maybe do things that they wouldn't normally do. A lot of them don't track back. A lot of them sort of find little pockets on the pitch where they don't work hard defensively, but when they get the ball, they play with the freedom. And I think all of a sudden, they played positively. I think some of our players at half-time thought the job was done and just stood off the pace. And because we gave them that second goal very early in the second half, I think that really sort of lifted Blackburn, and we were done. I think looking at us in the second half, it really was a cave-in. Difficult to put your finger on why, but again, you know, they're professional players. You got professional management and staff. There really wasn't a reason why it should have gone so badly. Unfortunately, I think George Long's race might be run at Millwall, and for all the good things that he's brought to the team throughout the season, I think it must be the 4th, 5th goal that they've scored, the opposition have scored from distance, that has that same look every time where he's diving, he's either diving late or he's diving not quite far enough, and they're not even going in the corner, some of them. So that one yesterday didn't go in the corner. It was just a poor attempt at saving the goal. And then the second goal, again, he's if you look at, he's done it. He's got to the ball from the free kick with 2 hands, and he's just sort of patted it out straight to one of their players. And better goalkeepers would have just shoved that to the side or shoved it round and out for a corner. and it can't do the defence any good having that sort of worry behind them all the time. But at the same time, we can't. Well, we can obviously because Gary Rowett keeps playing him, but we can't keep giving those sort of goals away all the time. And unfortunately, I think they've even the most sort of supportive fan, I think, which I've been most of the season for George Long, can see there's got to be an end to that. Where he gets another goalkeeper from, or whether he brings Bart back and Bart's up to the task, I don't know. But that's probably a conversation for another time. I thought Burke looked fantastic first half, but second half, the two goals that the goal that got him back into it, and then the equaliser, both came from him not tracking back. If you look back, you can just see his energy levels suddenly. It's like he was empty, and then after that, we just struggled down that right hand side. Danny Mack had too much to do to try and compete. He struggled with Brereton anyway, but at the time, when Burke sort of went missing, that was the end of that, and obviously that led to a lot of what went wrong for the second half. I think a lot of questions now being asked, saying, is Gary Rowett going to walk? I'll be surprised if he walks, because I think he's as culpable as everybody else, with the way the season's gone. It's our last 10 games to have only won 2 of them when we look so comfortable to get in the playoffs. I think is it's a testament to Gary Rowett and what he's done for the team and the club. But at the same time, he's got to take responsibility for us not getting over the line. And I would hate the thought of him walking because of the way the season's ended up. I think he's got enough in him to look at and reflect on what's gone right and what's gone wrong. I think he needs a number 2. I think Callum Davison probably is the ideal one for him because he's comfortable with him. But at the same time, looking at our bench yesterday, they're all very similar. They're all very yes men, and I think he probably needs somebody who can test him a little bit. Oh well, so I say on we go, but that's the end of the season for us, Nick. So obviously I'd love the old Achtung, and let's hope that within a few days or a couple of weeks we can all start getting a bit more positive and start looking ahead to next season. I think next season, if he can build a team around Shackleton, Styles, Billy Mitch, Fleming, Bradshaw, there's enough good players there, Cooper, there's enough good players for us to have another good goal in next year. It's never been easy for us, is it? And we can always learn how to mess it up, and we certainly did that yesterday. But, oh well, on we go. Come on, you Lions.
Hello, Nick. So, Lion J1 1971. Jim, just got back, mate. Speechless, really. Most Millwall thing of anything, wasn't it? To go 3-1 up and lose that game. I think it shows what a lot of us have been saying for a while, that Gary Rowett has done a great job at Millwall. There's no two ways about it. But he just hasn't got what it's going to need to take that next step. His in-game management is so poor. Today, you could see in the first half, we were the second best team. We weren't the best team in the first half. Yeah, we went in 3-1 up, but they were better than us. And when he got them in at half-time, he needed to do one or two things. He needed to give them a kick up the arse and say they've got to get on them quicker, or he's got to close up shop. And he didn't really do neither. Anyway, we've had some great highlights this season. A lot of lowlights. I don't think we've not made the playoffs because of today. You think back at those games against Birmingham and Hull, Wigan, when the team they weren't set up right. And I think that's where we've lost it. It's not on today. So we need a big shake-out in the summer, because we've got a lot of players that are coming to the end of their best times. People like Hutch, Malone. And we've got players on loan that we've not brought yet, who aren't even ours. So there's a big shake-up in the summer. And let's see if it's with Rowett or not. Anyway, talk to you soon, Nick. All the best, mate. Cheers.
Hello Nick, Bill Slack, Millwall Throat.
I thought I'd record this Tuesday morning because I couldn't face it last night, and I feel even worse this morning. Well, that is one of the famous capitulations of any football team anywhere, and it happens to be Millwall live on Sky. A little bit embarrassed, if I'm honest. When we talk about capitulations, it isn't the capitulation of yesterday. That's the reason we're not in the playoffs, and we should have been 6 or 9 points in. It's the last 11 or 12 games, which is nearly a quarter of the season. You know, Rowett's had a quarter of the season to sort that out and pick up a result here and there, and he hasn't managed to do it. I think he's 4 seasons in, and this is his squad with his players, and we've just seen disaster after disaster after disaster. And maybe we'll look back on this season and thank fuck we had a decent run, because if we'd been mid-table, we could well have been looking over our shoulder. And for a team that's looking to push for the playoffs, it ain't good enough. I think one thing I have established leaving these voicemails here and there is that I'm in no way a football expert. Categorically proved that. But I tweeted before the game that I would never have brought Danny Mack in, and I would never have played George Long. That's not incisive football knowledge there, or punditry. That is just as clear as the nose on my face that Danny's struggling with confidence. He's plateaued a little bit. You know, he was fantastic last year. He hasn't improved. And if anything, gone backwards. Now, whether that's got something to do with the club or Dan's ability, I'm not sure. But I'm not slagging him off, because he is one of our own, and I want to see Millwall supporting players on that pitch. But we had Shackleton on the bench, and he's dropped in for Dan, and it's one of the worst first halves I've seen out of him or out of anyone this season. And George Long. And I think this is the worry for me with Rowett. It has been as clear as could possibly be that bloke is a second-rate keeper, and we've got a better keeper on the bench. I was quite forthright in one of these voicemails the other week about, I hear Millwall supporters saying they want they want the modern ways. A goalkeeper's got to be able to use his feet and distribute it, and all this absolute bollocks. What a keeper has to do is palm a ball away or catch a fucking ball with a free kick that ain't going too fast. And, maybe if we hadn't have conceded in the first half, I think we'd have got beat anyway, really. We should have got beat 6-3 rather than 4-3. And that's my worry going forward with Rowett. He's making very, very strange selections for me. I thought he'd hit the nail on the head with a formation at Blackpool last week. And maybe he thought he didn't have the personnel to do it. I don't know. I just know that the string factor was quite high yesterday. There was one or two in our block who eventually moved, but 99% of the Millwall supporters at that place deserve better than that, and we just had no answer. I actually gave up at 3-2. I just said to me, Dad, it's inevitable that they're going to score again. I didn't think they'd beat us at that point, but I knew that it had gone, and it's absolutely devastating. And I'm going to ignore the fact that football exists now probably for about 6 or 8 weeks. And we all know how it works, don't we? None of us ever want to go down there again. We all wonder why we do it. And then about mid-July, we all start thinking, sun comes out, and we all start thinking, oh, maybe this is our year. It's a mental illness. There's something wrong with us. But as it stands at the minute, I never want to watch football again. I don't want to go down there. I don't want to watch Rowett's team. I'm going tough old day yesterday, mate. Someone said online, my thoughts on the Premier League and Millwall in the Premier League's probably for another day, but my 15-year-old was absolutely devastated. He's absolutely desperate to get up there and play them teams and be in the Premier League and go into school, and
say, look at little old Millwall in the Premier League. I don't think about that stuff. I'm a little bit blasé about the Premier League, but my boy was absolutely gutted yesterday, and I think that's why I'm so gutted today. How they fucked that up? I just don't know. Well, we do know, don't we? Have a good one. Tradition to say, come on you Lions, but I know what I want to say. See you later. See you soon. Ta-da.
Hello, Nick. Hello, listeners. Ben Anthony here. Just mulling over the defeat to Blackburn from earlier on. What a difficult day that was. I don't think I've ever felt as low as I did walking out the den today, as I've done, walking out the den in the past. I think that's the lowest I've ever felt, and it felt similar to losses at Wembley and things like that. I went in thinking, we got to give it a go and see what happens, and last day madness, you never know, we might get a result, but to go 3-1 up and then second half, not have enough to hold on to that is utterly heartbreaking. I think we were fairly fortunate to be 3-1 up, if I'm honest. I think we didn't look at our best. We did look a bit tired. I think that's probably part of the problem. It was a difficult game. The atmosphere was great, particularly in that first half, and we put ourselves in such a fantastic position. I have to give credit to Watmore and Burke, who I've criticised. I think they were outstanding in that first half. I just wonder what was said in the second half. What was said at half time, because they came out a different team. They looked like they were lost. Couldn't string a pass together suddenly. Couldn't keep the ball. Couldn't put any kind of an attack together, and a bit leaky in defence. The defence has been a bit of a surprise all season, really. I think we've become so reliant on having a solid defence and getting regular clean sheets, and I think we've had periods where we've been quite leaky at the back, and I think it's something that needs thinking about in the transfer market very carefully. Obviously, we know we've known about a striker for a long time, and people will look at January and say that was a big problem, and that's probably a fair criticism. We didn't sign well enough in January. We let 2 strikers go in the January window without a ready-made replacement coming in, and I think that's cost us a little bit. And I just sort of think we have to go again. We have to have a plan for next season. I think next season's championship is going to be much tougher than this one has been. So, it's going to be an even bigger task, an even more difficult task to pull off a top 6 finish next year. So, we do go again. I think we've got a pretty strong base to the squad, and it just needs a bit of building on. We'll have to see if offers come in for players like Fleming. Although on the basis of today's performance, I don't think they will do. We just have to, refresh and go again. But yeah, that was absolutely gutting, heartbreaking today. It feels like we've thrown it away, which ultimately is what's happened. But I don't think today was the story of the season. I think that we haven't made it because we haven't been good enough this season, particularly in recent weeks. And you look at Wigan and you look at Birmingham and you look at Hull, you just sort of think even 2 draws out of those would have been enough. So, yeah, it's a story. It's a season, not just one game, but hard to take. Anyway, have a good summer, everyone, and speak soon.
Hello, Nick. It's Angelo here, mate. Right, just got home from the game. Devastated, mate. Obviously devastated that we didn't make it. But you know, let's all be honest, mate. Yeah. I know we're called the Lions, but really we should be the Cats, mate, because we had 9 lives and we fucking threw them all away, mate. You know, the last 2 months, mate, we didn't lose it today. It was the teams that we dropped points against, your Wigans, your Hulls, your Birminghams. It's just a disgrace, mate, that the last 2 months we've just fucking thrown it away. And like a cat, we used up all our lives and we ran out of lives on the last day, mate. Today, I've got to say, mate, the first 20 minutes, that is the loudest the Den has been for a number of years. The crowd were sensational, mate. We made it a cauldron in there. And that's why we started so well, mate. When the disallowed goal, I've not seen it back, mate, but I've heard it's questionable. That did knock the stuffing out of the crowd a little bit. It was like we could have done without that because we were bombarding them. But listen, 3-1 up at half time, mate. We have got to fucking see that through, mate. And this is where I've got question marks on Rowett. His tactical nous is very questionable. His in-game tactical changes, I'm always questioning stuff like that. But, mate, I want to say 2 things, right? Gary Rowett has done a good job. Don't get me wrong. He's done a good job. But this has been a shit league, mate. The top 4 teams, were the best 4, by a country mile, And this is the best chance ever we could have got into the playoffs because the rest were all bang average, mate, including us, one of your guys said it on a previous podcast, they'll have to call the fraud squad in if we got into the Premiership with this team. And it's true, mate. It would have been an absolute fluke for us to get in the Premiership with this team, mate, because we do lack quality, but there's 2 mistakes, that I believe that Gary Rowett has made 2 huge mistakes, Number 1 is obviously we didn't get more strikers in the January window, We've literally had to get Bradshaw to run his socks, how the guys kept going and not got injured is beyond me. And then the other mistake, mate, right, is bringing Long in for Bart, mate. I believe 3 of those goals today Bart saves, mate. The 2 curlers, the one in the first half and the Brereton Diaz one, who basically demolished Danny Mack, by the way. My God, that's so one-sided battle that was. Them 2 curlers, they're in the middle of the goal, mate. They're in the middle of the fucking goal. How is George Long not saving them two shots, mate? The free kick parries it out into their players again. And the thing is, right, George Long has not made horrendous errors, right? But he is letting a lot of goals that Bart simply saves, mate. And I genuinely believe if Bart had stayed in the team, we would have got in the playoffs, mate. Because so many of these goals that went past George Long, Bart would have saved, mate. And today, mate, I was at the game and I'm pretty sure that them 2 curlers are fucking in the middle of the goal, mate, And goalkeepers should save that. George Long is a below average goalkeeper, and I can't have him next season, mate. I can't have him. But they're the big 2 mistakes that really pissed me off. Not getting a striker, and I believe that the switch of Bart to we know Bart's shit with his feet, but Bart fucking saves the ball from going in the back of the net, which fucking George Long don't do. And in my opinion, mate, George Long has cost us that game today. We had our last life, to get in the playoffs today. And George Long has fucked it up for us, mate. It's as simple as that. So, anyway, it's done. We weren't good enough to go up. It's frustrating that we did throw it away the last 2 months because it was all in our hands. And I'm desperately disappointed. But obviously changes have to be made, but that's for another time, mate. We need to get rid of some people. We need to bring some in. Apparently, Tyler Bury's been abusing the fans. If that's the case, we can't have him at our club. He's going to have to go because this ain't the first time. He's going to have to go, Can't have him swearing at the fans and sticking his tongue out and doing wanker signs and shit like that I've heard about. But anyway, I'm rambling on because I'm frustrated and angry. But yeah, The dream is over. On to the next season, and come on, you Lions.
Hi Nick, Mark Willoughby. Haven't ever called in before, but I suppose yesterday's event, whether positive or negative, were likely to be a candidate for making me do so for the first time. It was interesting that the email that came around just before the game for Millwall was headed "ready for anything." The team weren't. I guess we as fans were. Seen it often enough over the years. Spectacular failure, but struggling to think of anything quite as bad as what we saw yesterday. Left me very flat and really unsure of where we go from here. Despite our poor form since the international break, we somehow got into a position where our fate was in our own hands. I wonder whether that form since the international break might have been something to do with the players mentally questioning whether they're ready for Premiership football, and whether the capitulation yesterday was something to do with that, something to do with mentality, because it was particularly awful yesterday. If we were to get to the Premiership, a lot of those players wouldn't be good enough, and maybe they know that, whether consciously or subconsciously. A very quick review of the season is that we failed too often in games that we should have won against the bottom teams. Ongoing failure to break teams down when they sit behind the ball. Questionable tactics from Mr. Rowett, and the inability to change systems that clearly aren't working, and to make changes, meaningful changes during games, particularly the timing of substitutions. Again, yesterday, too late. So I think we're at a crossroads for him, possibly. Other clubs will be courting him. I wouldn't be that unhappy to see him go as long as we could make a decent replacement. I think possibly, we don't know what is in John Berylson's mind. He'll be feeling flat today. And, what's his motivation to continue? What will he do? I think it will be interesting to see what happens in terms of the transfer window. If we don't see early activity, that tells us that, as usual, we're not throwing enough money at it, and so we're scrambling around at the end, trying to get players whose other options have not come to pass, or and they're, maybe using Millwall as a second best option. And just to finish up, I think it's good to finish on a high note. Obviously, we are still continuing to punch above our weight in terms of the size of the club and the budget available. And I would like to say that this team has got a great togetherness. I think it has for the last couple of seasons, but particularly for this season. The players working for each other. Nice little examples of that. Bradders on a hat-trick the other day, but Zian took the penalty. There was no question about that. So I think that's good. The fans have been magnificent. I've had some brilliant away days this year. QPR, Stoke, first 20 minutes of Stoke is some of the best sort of singing and atmosphere I've ever experienced at Millwall. So that's great. So well done to the fans. Some sellouts as well. So hopefully that sets us up, and that's a positive. So now we can take a break, see what happens in the summer, catch our breath, and as usual we go again. Come on your lines.
Nick, it's Matt Richards here, dialing in depressed. The morning after, I couldn't dial in or couldn't record anything yesterday. It's just it's too raw. I mean, it's raw now, but I thought I'd do it anyway. Oh bloody hell! I mean, I'm not sure what to say really. It's just I mean, if you start with the game, I just don't think we played well at all. Well, it's not a very obvious thing to say, but even at 3-1 at half time, when you think about the first half, we started well. But I think the turning point was that goal being disallowed. I think if that had gone in, I think Blackburn heads would have been down, 2-0 down. They had to win. I haven't seen it back, but I've seen a picture of it and it looks really, really tight. And I think that was it. After that, that was the turning point. They almost got a second wind, they got a second chance. We were kind of rabbit in headlights, thinking 1 minute we're two goals up, next minute we're not, we're still only one. And they just came at us. They just actually came at us, and they're a good possession side. We were forced back, sat back, whichever way you want to look at it, really. They dominated that second half, apart from like the 2 goals we scored. I mean, first of all, they equalised. Again, the player having too much space to get a shot in. 1-1. You know how we got those 2 goals when you think about it, because we weren't playing well. It was a good break by Burke, and he humped it forward, and we get a lucky header into Watmore. Good finish. And then after that, it was a poor pass by them, which put Burke away, and then he's finished it brilliantly. But that was it really. After that, we were hanging on in the first half, and I know you can't. This is when you think back. 3-1, everyone's like pleased, but nothing changed in the second half. It was one of the golden rules of football is that you keep it tight at the beginning of the second half, but they just came at us again. They had nothing to lose. We gave them too much space, and then suddenly again, another shot. Well, no, this was a free kick on it, but it was them pushing forward that we fouled on the edge of the D, and then free kick. Okay, so long, long. I mean, this is it. It's like we can blame players, and at the end of the day, players have to take responsibility. But I don't know. Long, it was a decent save, but he's pushed it, and where were the defenders as well? You can easily blame Long, but I think the defenders had a responsibility there as well. And then as soon as it goes 3-2, we knew the writings on the wall. And I was right behind the Diaz shot. I've seen it on TV this morning. It looks like a good shot on TV. But behind it looked like it just went in the centre of the goal. So, I mean, how Long has managed to avoid it? I mean, he hit it well, but, this thing with Long, he doesn't make any howlers. I think it's been mentioned on the show. He doesn't make howlers. He's not like a Jordan Archer, but you just think he could do better with virtually every goal which is scored against him. So that's why there's question marks about Long. But anyway, 3-3 and pushing forward. We never really looked like scoring, really. I did think it was strange to take Bradshaw off when looking for a goal, but I guess you just had to change things, really. Whether it would have made a difference, we weren't creating a lot of chances for lots of Bradshaw anyway. Tyler has one saved. It wasn't a strong shot, was it? It was fairly weak, but Tyler did okay. And then they got up the other end. But I mean, it doesn't really matter really because we had to win anyway. So if you lose or draw, it wouldn't make any difference. Just absolutely gutting, really. Just so gutting, and I couldn't stay for the end. I started clapping at the end, but I just couldn't. I just thought, I just want to get home, really. What do we say? It's just we just cocked it up really. You know, how many chances did we need to kind of get in the playoffs? And each time we had the opportunity, we just kind of threw it away. And then we just, the biggest opportunity at all, we still had the chance in the last game of the season, and then we throw it up from being 3-1 up. And we've, you know, what can you say? We're just not being good enough. Just not good enough at all. I think some of it stems back to the January window, the squad at the start of the season. You know, in January window, we just haven't got. I don't think anyway. I don't think you can blame the formations, blame the manager, tinkering and substitutions and stuff like that. But it comes down to it, the players just aren't good enough. You know, I'm not saying that they haven't tried hard. I think they have, and they've done really well to get to where they have. But when you think about the players, the top 3 players of the season, you know, Saville. You know, I love him. I love George Saville. But, you know, a lot of these goals that have been scored from outside the area are where him or Billy Mitch should be closing down. And they're not. You know, I'm not saying they're not trying, but they're just not getting there. You know, it's a Bradshaw. Bradshaw yesterday, you know, I think there was a point where it was 3-3 and he gets the ball in the middle of the pitch and he could have played a simple ball into Fleming and he can't play it. And it gets blocked by their midfielder. You know, and then Fleming. You know, Fleming, you know, he had a couple of chances yesterday and he scuffs his shot and, you know, so these are our best players. These are our best players, that's what I'm saying. These are our best players. We think they've had really good seasons, yet they just haven't got that extra 10%, 15% of quality, whether it's in the mind or the actual ability to do what we need to do to make us a top 6 side. That's just the facts of it, really. So we do need more investment. We need a stronger squad. You know, so that will be played out over the few months. Really, it has been a good season. We know it's been a good season. It's just the fact of where we've been. That's what makes it more gutting. I've never known a season like this. It's not like Millwall to be front runners or have a chance of. It's just not like us. You know, we're usually trying to play catch up. But this feels really different, and it's a weird one because we've had 6 seasons now in the Championship, and we've had strong finishes in 5 of those. You know, and the expectations go up. That's what sport's about, and that's what, you know, being Millwall fans about. Even though we know over our history we're doing incredibly well, you still want more, don't you? You still want more, and it'd be interesting to see what happens over the summer. Will Rowett be there? Will he get offers from elsewhere? Don't know. You know, who would we get in to replace him? But how much investment will we get? Will Berison be around forever? You know, it's a pivotal time, really. Every end of season is, but this one feels even more so after it is a crushing disappointment. It's an absolute crushing disappointment, and that does different things to different people, doesn't it? So, I don't know. We need lots of different players. I think we definitely need a keeper, left back, right back, central defence. We need the core of the team across the team, and obviously a striker to support Bradshaw because he can't be expected to do it on his own. So anyway, it's just that's it really. Difficult to know what to say. It's just joys of being a Millwall supporter really. We'll be back there next year, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, okay, Nick, come on, you Lions.
Achtung, Millwall.
So there we go. Huge thank you to all the boys for those messages. Normally, listeners, I'll have a quick rummage through the world of social media, but in all honesty with you, I don't have much energy left for reviewing the same comments over and over again. I don't have anything new to add to everything that was said yesterday and in the recording with Neil and H last night. And what the boys have said in the voicemails, you know it, I know it. The flaws in the squad are clear to be seen. And the world of social media can be quite a poisonous, toxic place. And I'm not sure I've quite got it in me to go through that this morning. I just want to say a few thank yous, really, listeners. It's been a very strange season. Been good at times, awful at times. Been brilliant at times, and been disastrous at times, e.g. yesterday. But Here we are still at the end of the 22-23 season. We actually finished 8th in the table, which, as hard as it is to accept, is one of the better Millwall finishes in historical terms. Not that's much comfort to anybody, I do appreciate. But there it is. Big things to take out of this season. We'll see what the summertime brings. I don't know. Changes at in the structure of the club, the management. I don't know. Squad changes almost certainly. One thing is for sure certain that is Millwall itself, our club, endures onwards. I've said it on previous shows. I'll say it again to you. I encourage all of the listeners to this show to join the Lions Trust. The Lions Trust is a shareholder fundamentally in the club, but it more importantly represents a framework by which, if it ever came to pass, a rescue or an AFC or a Phoenix, club, whatever you want to call it, could be built around in the future. It's really, really important that we have this, and it's also really important we hope we never need to use it, because that's not a recipe for good times. It's a recipe for survival. But it's important that you have it. Other clubs have fallen upon such supporters trust based clubs. I think of Wimbledon. I'm thinking of Bury at the moment is an ongoing story. Even Pompey, Portsmouth, and Brentford at one point. As high as they've flown. At one point they were in the depths. So it's important that we have that, because more than anything else, more than the individual outcomes of any season, as disappointing as we all feel, and I feel pretty low energy this morning, listeners. I'll be upfront with you. But tomorrow does come. Come August, we'll all be back in our seats, ready for it all to go again. As hard as that is to visualise at the moment, I'm personally looking forward to a few months of not, living and dying on Millwall's doings, and not doing too many podcasts. I might do one or two, but there won't be as many nearly as we've been doing. I do want to say a few thank yous before I close this extra show. I want to say thank you to all of the chaps that help contribute to the show. I've got a really wide range of views and opinions. I like that. I don't want it to be, one opinion stream or another, really. I like to hear all sides, and, I will seriously consider any opinion if it comes my way. So I want to say thank you, obviously, to Harry, regular on the show. Love Harry to bits. He's always got, wears his heart on his sleeve, and that's a very Millwall trait, and I enjoy Harry's contributions for that. Michael Avery, I've done a lot of the non-league stuff. I've enjoyed doing that, actually. But Michael's a regular at the Den. He puts a lot into his local clubs, non-league clubs, refereeing, and increasingly Erith Town, his local side. And I've got a lot of time for Michael Avery, so big thank you to Michael. Neil Fissler, love Neil. He's a Marmite character, Neil, isn't he? And as I personally love a bit of Marmite. So, I know that like any good opinion-based show, you're not going to agree with everybody. But I personally enjoy Neil's views and opinions, and he knows his history, and that's Mill history and football history more widely. So I think he's been a real asset for the show. So a big thank you to Neil Fissler. I want to say thank you to the other boys, occasional contributors. Graham Payne, caught up with Aaron yesterday. He's doing very well now in the BBC, and I think he was on ITV at one point. I don't know if he's still doing that golf show on ITV. I want to say thank you to Mike Hayden, Ryan Loftus. I want to wish John Rankin well. I know that John's been a bit under the weather recently, and I want to send and I'm sure everyone listening to the show, their best wishes to you, John. Jim Hackett, some great contributions from Jim. He knows his stuff, Jim. Man of mystery, international man of mystery, Jim Hackett. I always look forward to Jim's contributions because they're in-depth and they're knowledgeable. And I suppose that's how I like the show to be, listeners. We do our own thing on this show, don't we? Big thank you to Matt Richards. Another interesting character. Matt knows his music. Matt is an interesting guy, Matt. So big thank you to Matt for his contributions over the season. The man himself, Bill Slack. You're getting a cult following, Bill, out there. A cult following. That's a cult with an L, mate. Not any other spelling. You might go through your head, but I always love hearing from Bill. And his contributions are unique. Angelo Miliotto, wonderful contributor. Again, another chap knows his football, so I always look forward to Angelo's input. And finally, I just want to say a big thank you to Ben Anthony, who was on the show the other day, another regular voicemail contributor. And you know, these are the lifeblood of any podcast. There's only so far you can take a show when it's just you speaking to a screen and with your microphone. You do need the input of others, so I really do appreciate that. I hope I've included everybody. If I've missed anyone out, I apologise. I'm still not 100% with it after yesterday's fraught emotional roller coaster. So if I've missed anyone out, I apologise to you. I'll make it up to you with a money back guarantee of some sort on the podcast. I also want to say thank you to the various listed lion guests we've had over the season. I enjoyed doing those listed lion shows. If you want to become a Millwall listed lion, come on our show. It's the original and the best. And I've looked forward to each and every one of them, and hopefully we'll get a few more next season. Not for a while though. Not for a while. Don't trouble me for a while. Maybe after August. Trouble me then. Finally, big thank you to the work of the Lions Food Hub. I personally think that these food hubs, I know they draw comment from all directions. I love what the Lions Food Hub does. Kelly is one of life's givers. She runs it, and it's part of the wonderful Millwall Community Trust. Does so much for the locality of SE16, and it really represents our club in the right way. So big shout out to Kelly and the Lions Food Hub. And finally, best of all, thank you to you, whoever's listening to this show. You right there behind your headphones with your car speakers on, however you choose to listen to this show. I really appreciate it. We do this from a position of love, I suppose. So without listeners, we wouldn't generate any money. We can't do the things we like to do to help the Food Hub. So without your listen, a lot of things don't happen. So I just want to say I really appreciate everything you've put in to the show by listening to it. That's a funny, cock-handed way, but I think I'm running out of energy now, listeners. So, yeah, there we are. Big thank you. That's the 22-23 season. Didn't end how we thought it might end. Some might have thought it did end the way they thought it would end. But we come back again in August, don't we? Because that's what we do. Come on, you Lions. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.